You feel good?
And remarkably, the answer might actually be yes.
That's the goal. You might want to live long, but even more important, you want to live well.
I'm delighted to be speaking. I haven't spoken at the event for several years, and I'm particularly pleased to have been asked to talk about my work in anger, which, to be frank, I'm rarely asked to talk about. And I think the reason is that anxiety work and work in depression is seen as so much more significant or important in our community, and I think that's a tragic error. I think one of the reasons it happens is that in our diagnostic schedule for mental health problems, there are whole chapters on the anxiety disorders, whole chapters on the mood disorders. There is no chapter on the anger disorders. There is no single section of the diagnostic schedules that list anger problems. And this has meant that it's become a bit of a backwater in clinical psychology and psychiatry, even though we see it in our clinics all the time and we know it's causing carnage in the community. Anger, I'll try to argue, is in fact the darkest of all of the emotions. It does more damage than any of the emotions. Anger has been talked about as long as humans have been talking about their existence. It goes right back in our myths, in our legends, in our religions, in our cultures. If you go back to the Greeks, you may recognize this image. Many of you will know that's Narcissus falling in love with himself as he looks into the pond. But who is the nymph that looks on? It's Echo. Echo in love with Narcissus, but destined not to tell him. Why? The queen of the gods in ancient Greece, the queen of the gods, Hera, has taken her voice in a fit of anger because of her philandering husband. Here we have Echo unwilling to cooperate with Hera and say where Zeus is. And in a fit of anger, the queen of the gods removes Echo's voice and says, "You will only make the sounds that others make now." Hence, we have the word echo. Again, from Greek mythology, the wonderful Athena, a goddess of craft, of all things. They had gods for everything, the ancient Greeks. A goddess of craft who was so angered by the mortal Arachne, who beat her essentially in a weaving contest, that she turns her into a spider. Again, and I could give you dozens and dozens of examples from the Greeks of anger and vitriol from Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology, and many other cultures in which anger plays such a prominent role in the stories. Of course, it's riddled through other religions as well. Lord Shiva in the Hindu religion is known, controversially known, not everyone would agree with this, but as in fits of anger, causing carnage to various people. Admittedly, he would say in righteous moments, and it would be terrible of me to leave out the God of the Old Testament. The wrath of God is a phrase that's not unfamiliar, surely, to anyone in the room. So regardless of your culture, regardless of your historic position, from the earliest writings to now, anger has been prominent among our figures, our deities, our gods, our goddesses, and so on. We get angry in the general community mainly at groups that we see as not like us. Queenslanders get angry at the cockroaches, and we get angry at them. And it is sort of funny. I heard the laughter. It is sort of funny, isn't it, on the one hand, but it has dire consequences. You may not know in the state of New South Wales, when the Origin matches are played, domestic violence goes up dramatically on those evenings and the next evenings. And this is a phenomenon right across the globe. Here's a recent tweet from the National Health Service with a very tragic image of blood on a woman's face in the shape of the English flag, and they make the point in the National Health Service that they are inundated with cases on the nights that England play. And note, there's an increase if England win. There's an increase if England lose. And the increase goes not just with the effect of alcohol, the effect of anger and tribal anger continues the next day and the next day. For several days, there's an increase in domestic violence. This is an image some of you may have seen, a tragic image recently of a lesbian couple travelling peacefully on a train in London, beaten by young heterosexual men. Once again, an outgroup to the heterosexuals, people not like us, and anger occurs. And of course, people not like us continues to drive awful acts of terrorism across the globe. You can see why I'm passionate about anger, because anger has global effects, not just one-on-one effects. You see, anxiety tends to, or even mood tends to have impacts at a much more closed-in level. Anger, on the other hand, can have effects that are quite global. Of course, for most people in the room, you might be thinking, well, you know, my anger is not to out-groups, to other racial groups, but I bet you still get angry at times. And sadly, for many people, the anger they've expressed in their life is to people that they love, to people that are closest to them. We get angry at our children because we want consistency. They should be able to do this. They should be able to get dressed. Mary got dressed the other morning, so she should be able to do it this morning, as if we expect the 3-year-old or the 4-year-old to be consistent. And we crush the self-esteem of young people with our anger. We crush the self-esteem. We increase the chance that psychologists will be seeing them in adulthood. 6-fold increased chances of being seen with an anxiety disorder if you come from a disruptive family with a lot of expressed emotion. We destroy young children and we set them up for pain across generations. We get so angry in our workplaces. Think of this. We all have codes of conduct on how to behave. Now, I find that still quite extraordinary. We need a code of conduct when you sign on with your institution that tells you how to behave in your workplace. How to behave in your workplace, and you'll be held to account for it if you step outside of the code. We need these, and these are implemented every day because of bullying, harassment, and anger expressed regularly in the workplace. And we get angry with our lovers. This is the way it's often portrayed, images of couples in bed back to back. I wish it were so. I wish this was the extent of anger in homes, that people were back to back not talking for an evening. It isn't like that, of course. People die because of anger in homes. Not so much if you're a man. If we look at how many are killed by their partner. In Australia, these are the latest data. If you're murdered in Australia, there is only a 6% chance you were killed by your partner. Unfortunately, if you're a woman killed in this country, there is a 66% chance you were killed by your partner. And we watch this happen every week. We watch the statistics, they're being counted and collected, and the community, I guess, collectively struggle to know what to do, but we keep watching. Why do we get angry? Well, put simply, the Stoics solved this 2,000 years or so ago when Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius and Seneca were all banging on the same theme, and this is very much at the heart of CBT. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view they take of them. Don't let yourself off the hook. You don't get angry because somebody cut in front of you in the traffic. You don't get angry because someone's running late. You don't get angry because your plane was cancelled. You get angry because of the view you take of those things. You think they shouldn't happen to you. How do we know it's to do with the view and not the event? Well, the simplest evidence for that is, of course, not everyone gets angry. If it were the events, than being cut in front of in the traffic would cause anger in everyone, and of course it does not. I enjoy it at airports when planes get cancelled. I like watching because you get the extremes of emotion. You get people who are calm and chilled and watchful, and you get people who are mildly irritated, and you get people who are going to have to be escorted out of the airport because they're climbing over counters, as if the staff member serving them personally cancelled their plane out of spite. So it's the view a person takes of things, and that's a critical and very central idea that I want you to hold on to. In The Anger Fallacy, the book written by Stephen Laurent and myself, we sum it up this way: from mild annoyance to deep-seated rage, from frustration to resentment, anger always involves framing behaviour or events as wrong, not as they should be. Anger is in this sense a moral emotion, broadly speaking. You must think of a situation or person's actions as violating an expectation, a standard or a code of how things ought to be. So it's about shoulding. You get angry when you think it shouldn't be this way. Barry should have returned my email. Barry should have returned my email by now because I say people should return their emails within 24 hours. 12 is fine. 25 at a pinch. We have these arbitrary rules and we apply them and we get angry when they're broken. And if you think you don't have these arbitrary rules, have a look at this list. And I think if you're honest, many people in the room would say, yeah, I believe at least a few of these. And if you believe a few of these to be axioms of the universe, to be just true, then you'll get angry when they're violated. If you believe that these are your personal appraisals that you've acquired across your life from your family and your culture, and that not everyone has acquired the same beliefs and thoughts, you may not get angry when they're violated. I like the policeman should forgive minor offences. I had someone tell me that the other day. He said, I was going 10 kilometres over the limit and it was a bright sunny day. And I said, okay, is 10 kilometres okay? And he said, Ross, everybody knows 10 kilometres is okay. Well, apparently not the policeman. A fun task for you to do at home with your family. The world according to, you put your name there, the world according to Ross, and you write down your thou shalts. Write down your own set of personal commandments and you'll get a sense of what I'm talking about. There'll be a whole set of idiosyncratic beliefs. I had a friend the other day furious because his wife didn't want to get a dog. And he said, Ross, every child needs to grow up with a dog. I said, well, it's not really a fact of the physical world. It's not like hydrogen and oxygen make water. It's not really as simple as that. And he looked at me like I was a moron, you know. We get wedded to our beliefs, and these beliefs have typically been implanted across our own life, And we take our own life to be the yardstick. Another failing here. I say on this slide, what's your logic? Other people say reproachfully, I wouldn't have done it in his position. Well, no, you wouldn't have, but the actual person clearly would have, since he did, and it's his actions we're evaluating. There is little use in pointing out that a different brain, body, and biography, the individual in question would have acted differently. It's like saying if they'd been different, they would have been different. So I want you to practice avoiding this deep should. The cause of most of our anger with other people is what we refer to as deep should. I wouldn't have done it, so he shouldn't have done it. Right? I wouldn't have done it, so he shouldn't have done it. And there's that logical error of, well, you weren't the doer, so who cares whether you would have done it. Right? Avoid it at all costs. Avoid it at all costs. There's a few defences in the last few minutes that I want to mention. You're going to have to overcome some defences. People say, well, hang on, anger's an evolved emotion. Everyone has it. So it must be useful for survival. Well, just a fact check. Anger evolved for unskilled fighting. If you're in an alley and 3 big people start moving toward you, get angry. Anger helps unskilled fighting. But there is no anger gene for someone talking on a phone on a date, right? That's your shoulding about the event, except that it's not going to help you at all. If something angers me, it angers me, some people say to us. But the whole point of cognitive models of emotion is to learn to change your beliefs. The fact that it angers you at the moment doesn't mean that it has to continue to anger you. I'm sure there are things, if you ask yourself in the room, has something once angered you that doesn't anger you now? Hopefully you'll agree and you'll see that you can change your beliefs. But isn't it good to get the anger out? I hear that word all the time. You've got to get the anger out, Ross. You've got to get it out. You don't want to keep it in. No, it's not good to get the anger out. It's not like a steam in a steam engine. The hydraulic model is wrong. You get the anger out, you're going to get more angry. All of the evidence points to this. People start off at home going, look, it's just that I did ask you to pick that up, and you didn't pick it up on the way home, and now I'm going to have to go and pick it up. They start like that. They're getting their anger out. 5 minutes later, the police are being called. Anger ratchets up with expression. It doesn't go down with expression. I get angry to instruct other people. I don't even want to respect this one. No one can honestly say I get angry to help others. You know, I just like to instruct other drivers, so I scream at them, get out of my car and hit their windscreens. I don't think you need to do that to instruct other drivers. And finally, doesn't anger get results? No, anger doesn't get results. It leads to more anger. It's rarely recommended. If it got results, salespeople and marketing people would be trained to get angry with people. You'd go to a car yard and say, I don't particularly like the car, and the person would yell at you. What's wrong with the car? This is a great car. You've got to buy the car. No one does that. Getting angry does not influence people. And mostly, as I say in that last dot point, it comes at a horrible cost. A horrible cost to you, your family, the people you love, the people nearest you. It's really time to let go of your anger. This is doable. I hope you take something out of this. There's books for you to read. The Anger Fallacy, which lays all of this out. Anger is a destroyer, and I hope you can learn to master it. Thank you. Thank you very much.